Azumo, a girl haunted by a curse of causing bad luck to anyone she touches, stands poised to end her life. Her plans are interrupted by Andy, an undead man. When Andy approaches her, despite her warnings, he gets stabbed and subsequently run over by a train. Astonishingly, Andy's body regenerates, and he reveals his undead nature to a bewildered Azumo. Azumo, believing she has killed Andy, is shocked to see him regenerate. Andy, intrigued by her unique ability, refuses to leave her alone, even as police approach. He uses his blood to fly, taking Azumo to the top of a building. There, despite her pleas, he insists she answer his questions about her ability. Azumo, under threat of being thrown off the building, reluctantly reveals her tragic past. Her ability manifested 10 years ago, causing the death of her parents in a plane explosion. Attempting to demonstrate her power, Andy hugs Azumo, resulting in a crate crushing him. In a panic, Azumo falls off the building, but Andy saves her. He expresses a vested interest in her ability, believing it might hold the key to giving him a true death. Andy and Azumo retreat to his hideout. Andy, curious about Azumo's ability and wanting to explore it further, asks her to remove her clothes, but she flees, fearing exposure. During her escape, she loses her hat, revealing her excessively long hair, which she has never cut due to her ability's deadly consequences. Despite her reluctance, Andy cuts her hair, revealing his past as a stylist and reassuring her that her ability won't affect him since he's undead. Azumo is pleasantly surprised with her new haircut, but their moment is interrupted when a group of men ambush them. These men, aware of Azumo's ability, capture Andy and handcuff Azumo, revealing their mission to control individuals with special powers, referred to as negators. The leader of the group informs Azumo of their plan to exploit her ability, drawing a distinction between their intentions and Andy's. Azumo, feeling responsible for Andy's capture, is grateful to him for cutting her hair. Then a sudden lightning strike kills one of the men. Azumo hints that her ability might be more extensive than they realize. At this critical juncture, Andy breaks free from captivity. Facing his captors, he discloses a limitation he has imposed on himself: a quirk in his brain to block out memories from his extensive undead life. By removing this quirk, Andy regains his lost memories and, with them, his formidable fighting skills. He then uses these skills to effectively combat the group that captured them. To protect Azumo, Andy complies with the leader's demand to surrender his head, which he can detach due to his undead nature. In a surprising turn, Azumo frees herself and kisses Andy, triggering what she warns will be the ultimate bad luck. As Andy battles the leader, Azumo escapes the building, just as a meteor strikes, causing a huge explosion. She fears Andy is dead, but he miraculously survives, reuniting them amidst the chaos. Andy, ever fixated on finding a true death, suggests that mating with Azumo might trigger catastrophic bad luck. However, Azumo rebuffs this idea, explaining from a past experience that the intensity of bad luck she causes correlates with her feelings for the person involved. She warns Andy that any forced intimacy will only make her hate him, negating the potential for the kind of misfortune he seeks. In response, Andy alters his approach, declaring that he won't allow Azumo to die until she falls in love with him. Later, Andy takes proactive steps to protect Azumo by equipping her with heavy armor. He informs her about an organization hunting them, explaining that they are both negators, individuals who defy the world's rules. Andy expects another group from this organization to pursue them soon. He admits that given the enemy's knowledge of their abilities, their chances of victory are slim and suggests fleeing. While escaping on a bike, Andy admits to having no specific destination in mind. He reassures Azumo that he won't let her die until she falls in love with him, hoping her bad luck ability will then be strong enough to grant him a true death. Azumo, however, is adamant she'll never fall for him. Their escape is interrupted when a warp gate appears in the sky, signaling the arrival of their enemy. The ensuing attack separates Andy and Azumo, with Azumo finding herself unable to move her legs and running into a man named Shin. Shin captures her, but hesitates to follow Void's order to kill her, instead engaging her in conversation. Meanwhile, Andy, initially immobilized by Void, realizes he regains mobility each time he's struck. He deduces that Void's power is to paralyze him, while Shin has the ability to manipulate Azumo's will. While Azumo and Shin observe, discussing the relentless pursuit by the organization, Shin reveals the high priority assigned to Andy and Azumo following the meteor incident, indicating that more negators will be after them. Shin and Void, as negators themselves, are part of the Union, a group of 10 negators who are exempt from being hunted in exchange for completing missions. Azumo considers joining the Union to escape their pursuit, but Void dismisses the idea, stating all positions are filled. Andy, however, sees an opportunity in this, proposing they eliminate 2 Union members to take their places. He reassures Azumo of her safety, prompting her to touch him and trigger bad luck, which she clarifies is due to gratitude, not love. This results in a truck crashing into Andy and exploding, while Shin and Void manage to escape. Andy, pondering the abilities of his enemies, deduces that Void's power is to make his attacks unavoidable by freezing Andy's movements. Shin's ability remains a mystery, making Andy cautious in his approach. Amidst this, bombs detonate in the area, causing a building to collapse. Azumo is left wondering if this chaos is due to her bad luck ability or mere coincidence. In the aftermath, Void, protected by his suit, finds Andy's arms protruding from the rubble and believes he has finally captured his target. Andy demonstrates his unique ability to defeat Void. He reveals that his severed body parts vanish after 30 seconds, and uses this to his advantage by launching his bitten-off finger at Void, circumventing Void's muscle immobilization ability. This strategic move catches Void off guard, resulting in his swift defeat. Shin, witnessing Void's downfall, confronts Andy but is able to easily fend off his attacks. Andy speculates about Shin's ability, which seems related to parrying. Azumo hands Andy a sword, but Shin's ability causes Andy to hesitate, hinting at a possible mental influence. Shin cryptically remarks on the influence his ability has on their minds and refuses to disclose its nature. He then questions who will take Void's place in the Union. Andy suggests Azumo, assuring her of his survival and his intent to make her fall in love with him. As Azumo and Andy prepare for an intimate moment, Shin, amused by their antics, offers them an opportunity to join the Union by eliminating another member. He provides information about a Union member near a lake in Russia, identifiable by an emblem and a red necktie. Shin leaves them, deciding not to harm them. Azumo is surprised at their unexpected reprieve. Andy then outlines his plan to travel to Russia by boat and then by plane to Irkutsk, where his allies await to assist them in defeating another Union member, thereby securing a spot for them in the Union and potentially bringing their ordeal to a peaceful resolution. 50 years prior to the current events, Andy is shown confined in an isolation facility, observed by a young girl. Fast forward to the present, this girl, now older, is on a satellite tracking Andy's boat. As Andy and Azumo sail, Andy enjoys the journey, while Azumo, fearful of being hunted, hides. Despite her reluctance, Andy encourages her to enjoy the moment. Their respite is short-lived, as they soon come under attack. Andy reassures Azumo, confident in their ability to escape using her bad luck power. He also reflects on the versatility of their abilities, beyond mere survival. Andy speculates about the emblem representing the 10 Union members, recalling 3 individuals associated with it. The creator of his indestructible sword, a scientist who experimented on him 50 years ago, and a girl named Jean, capable of creating invisible barriers. Jean, revealed as the young girl from the past, is shown to have romantic feelings for Andy. Suddenly, their boat is destroyed by a blast from Jean's satellite, leaving Azumo unconscious under the wreckage. Using his regenerative ability, Andy frees her, and as they surface, he devises a plan. To buy time and assess their situation, Andy instructs Azumo to surrender to the enemy, pondering whether they can manipulate her bad luck ability to their advantage. Andy theorizes that Azumo's bad luck ability is influenced by the emotional value of her experiences. After their boat is destroyed, Andy moves Azumo's clothing to perform CPR, including mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, which shocks Azumo upon learning she was seen naked. Amidst this revelation, a massive explosion propels them upward, enabling them to hijack a jet. Andy swiftly incapacitates the pilot, and they escape with the plane. During their flight, Andy explains to Azumo how they can harness her bad luck ability by finding a source of misfortune and applying the right amount of contact, turning it into their advantage. However, their plane is rigged to self-destruct. Andy manages an emergency ejection, using his body to cushion their landing. They reach Irkutsk and find a beautiful lake. Andy suggests Azumo explore while he meets his allies, believing the Union won't target her amid tourists. Reflecting on the whirlwind of events since meeting Andy, Azumo's perspective on life starts to shift. In Irkutsk, Azumo encounters language barriers and ends up meeting Jean, the girl from Andy's past, who is painting. Jean, excited to meet another Japanese person, engages Azumo in painting and conversation about preference for change or constancy. Jean prefers the unchanging nature of art, while Azumo, influenced by her recent experiences with Andy, finds a new appreciation for change. This is symbolized in her painting, where she adds stars to the lonely moon, echoing her evolving outlook on life and change. Jean reveals her true identity to Izumo, much to her shock, by floating up into the sky with her tie, signifying her special abilities. Andy returns and immediately attempts to attack Jean, only to be repelled by an invisible barrier. This confirms to Izumo that Jean is indeed the one who captured Andy 50 years ago. Despite her youthful appearance, Andy explains that Jean is actually 66 years old, suggesting the organization might possess anti-aging technology. Jean, however, insists she is perpetually 16 years old. Andy realizes that Jean's ability involves creating invisible barriers, which even covered his mouth during their interaction. Jean confesses her love for Andy, explaining that she was ordered to capture him half a century ago. Since all seats in the Union were filled, Andy had to remain imprisoned. A flashback reveals Andy's time in the cell, where Jean visits him and apologizes for her actions. Andy, however, accepts his fate, seeing it as an opportunity to understand his abilities better. He expresses a desire for a rematch with Jean, confidently stating he won't lose to her again. In the present, Jean confesses that Andy's composed nature during his captivity made her fall in love with him. She lost track of him after he escaped, but his recent encounter with Izumo allowed her to locate him again. In an attempt to subdue Jean, Andy uses bombs, but she remains unharmed, expressing frustration with Shin for being the first to reach Andy and satisfaction over Void's death, which opens a spot in the Union. Andy's efforts to penetrate Jean's barrier with a flashbang and a direct attack are unsuccessful, leading him to retreat and analyze her abilities further. He realizes his friends are deceased, leaving him and Izumo to confront Jean alone. Reflecting on her manipulation of the lake's water and the invisible barrier, Andy hypothesizes that her ability is related to hardening or stabilization. Jean attacks Andy, cutting him in half with a wind-propelled weapon, but he willingly takes the hit to protect Izumo. Jean, seeing Izumo as a hindrance to Andy, attempts to convince him to abandon her. However, Andy, having deduced Jean's ability to prevent change, uses a grenade and his own decapitated head in a tactical move. The resulting explosion exposes Jean's ability, revealing hands formed by fixed air around her. Acknowledging he can't defeat Jean alone, Andy enlists Izumo's help. Izumo's touch triggers bad luck, causing Jean to become upset, believing Izumo is using her physical allure to sway Andy. Jean contrasts this with her own eternal youth, a product of her ability to prevent change. Andy theorizes about the nature of negators, categorizing them into self-targeters, who can only use their abilities on themselves, and external targeters, who can only affect others. He suspects Jean is an external targeter, despite her claims of being a self-targeter, as evidenced by her youthful appearance. Andy observes signs of aging beneath her makeup, reinforcing his theory that Jean cannot use her ability on herself. Jean, frustrated by this revelation, tries to attack Andy, who manages to fly away. Izumo, puzzled by Jean's lack of urgency, wonders why she doesn't run after them. Andy recognizes this as a potential weakness in Jean's abilities and plans to exploit it using a source of misfortune. Their plan is interrupted when an unidentified object strikes them, causing a crash. Laser beams attack them as Jean reveals her involvement in investigating a mysterious animal in the lake. She declares her intent to kill Izumo, using her abilities to assist in the creature's capture. However, a UFO suddenly appears above them, escalating the situation. In a strategic move, Andy utilizes his observation of a hole in Jean's barrier, through which she moves. He covers her with blood to obscure her vision, contemplating a way to breach her barrier. As Jean considers releasing her barrier, Andy's head, thrown by Izumo, penetrates the weak spot. This action triggers Andy's bad luck while he's inside the barrier, allowing him to reach Jean. As the situation reaches a poignant conclusion, Andy, with Izumo by his side, chooses not to kill Jean despite having the opportunity. Jean, facing her imminent death, reflects on her actions with the Union and her unfulfilled hopes for change. She compliments Izumo's painting, acknowledging the beauty of change, a concept she had not embraced before. As the effects of her anti-aging ability begin to fade, Jean asks Andy and Izumo to leave, not wanting them to witness her aged appearance. However, Andy compassionately hugs her, affirming her beauty and providing comfort in her final moments. After Jean's death, Izumo and Andy share a drink, with Izumo mourning Jean's passing. Andy recognizes the internal conflict Jean faced, balancing survival with the moral implications of her actions. Grateful for Azumo's help in saving Jean, he hears Azumo's plea to change the Union and prevent further suffering. Andy agrees to assist her in this mission. Their moment is abruptly disrupted by the opening of a warp gate, which transports them to the Union. Upon arrival, Andy launches an attack with his fingers, humorously referring to it as a greeting, but it's effortlessly halted. They find themselves seated among the Union members, with Andy provocatively telling them all to die. Shen, another Union member, greets them with apparent pleasure. The situation escalates when Andy is assaulted by Tatiana, a Union member angered by Jean's death. However, another member, Billy, intervenes, reminding everyone that infighting among Union members is prohibited, establishing a rule of conduct within the organization. Jules, the first seed member, intervenes to prevent further conflict between Andy, Azumo, Tatiana, and Billy. Jules introduces a book called Apocalypse, which outlines 6 challenging quests that the Union members must complete. These quests involve capturing other negators and defeating creatures known as UMAs, with rewards like additional Union seats. However, they face a tight deadline and potential punishment for failure. Nico, another member, runs an analysis and concludes that only 3 quests are feasible, meaning they'll likely face the punishment. Top, sitting next to Azumo, explains that Apocalypse is a powerful artifact with daunting tasks. Jules reveals that failure to comply with its quests results in Earth receiving new penalties every 3 months, part of a larger goal to confront the creator of Earth and the imposed rules. Azumo, unsettled by this, learns from Jules that leadership within the Union is determined by achievement. Motivated, Andy selects the most challenging quest involving an individual named Spoil. He decides to take on the task with Azumo and Shen. On the 21st of the month, preparations for the quest begin. Shen's subordinate Mui dresses Azumo, explaining her inability to join due to lacking an emblem. During their preparations, Andy causes a magma explosion, destroying his clothes. Shen emphasizes the importance of the special outfit, which offers numerous benefits, including language translation. Amidst these events, an alert signals the escape of a Uma named Clothes, capable of transforming into and controlling its wearer. Andy manages to subdue an affected individual, and they realize that the creature seeks a new host. It temporarily takes over Mui but is knocked out by Azumo's bad luck ability. Clothes then targets Azumo, but Andy intervenes, becoming its new host. The creature, frustrated by Andy's demanding nature, tries to consume him but is thwarted when Andy is accidentally hit by a laser from Nico, leading to Andy taming the creature, now named Clothy. Andy earns points for capturing Clothy, rising to 9th rank in the Union. Meanwhile, a report about a Uma in New York, resembling a rotting corpse, potentially Spoil, excites Andy about the prospect of a burger in America. On a sweltering Nevada road, Azumo and Andy, traveling in a truck from Andy's collection, embark on a mission across the United States. Andy, ever the opportunist, suggests a detour to Las Vegas for some fun, but Azumo, committed to their mission, insists they focus on their task first. Azumo, unsure of their exact destination, consults the paperwork, which details their investigation of a walking corpse in a city, an anomaly that prompted a memory wipe of witnesses to prevent panic. They learn the corpse hails from Longing, a rural area known for cowboy movie shoots. Shen, unexpectedly found atop the truck after Andy's attempt to leave him behind, joins them inside, moved by Azumo's concern for his safety. Inquiring about the connection to their target, Spoil, Shen speculates that the walking corpse incident may relate to Spoil, known for his legion of zombies. He informs them of a reconnaissance team that scoped out Longing, playing a chilling recording of their encounter with zombies, including sounds of struggle and gunfire, suggesting a grim fate for the team. That night, Azumo, troubled by the day's events, finds herself unable to sleep. Shen joins her, offering reassurance. He promises that he and Andy will handle Spoil, sparing Azumo from direct confrontation. Azumo expresses her determination to assist in capturing Spoil, driven not just by Jenna's dream of changing the Union, but also by the potential reward, locating the negator known as On Repair. This negator's ability might counteract Andy's regeneration, offering him the death he desires. Azumo feels a sense of responsibility, as her participation in the mission was partly due to Andy unilaterally choosing this challenging quest. Shen, though initially reluctant about being dragged into this dangerous mission, is intrigued by the prospect of witnessing Andy's serious side, contrasting with his usual lackadaisical demeanor. Upon reaching Longing, they find it overrun with zombies controlled by Spoil. Against Shen's advice for stealth, Andy brazenly blasts through the town's wall with a rocket launcher, unleashing hordes of zombies. Andy confirms that these altered beings cannot be reverted to normal humans, which prompts him to decisively plow through the crowd with the truck. Amidst the chaos, Andy leaps into action, severing his own limbs to gain a tactical advantage and launching into a frenzied attack against the zombies. He manages to identify one semi-conscious zombie girl who can lead them to spoil. Shen, observing the situation, cautions about the unique nature of Umas compared to negators. Unlike negators, who require specific triggers for their powers, Umas operate autonomously within a certain area. He notes a timer on Andy's stomach, a sign that Andy is under the influence of Spoil's power and will spoil when the timer runs out. Andy remains nonchalant about the decaying effect Spoil's curse has on him. His indifference stems from his desire for death and his undead nature, which allows him to continuously regenerate despite the decay. When the timer runs out, Andy experiences a cycle of decay and regeneration, illustrating the persistent nature of the curse. Amidst this, the semi-conscious zombie girl with Andy reveals she knows Spoil's location but has a peculiar condition. She wants to get married and have a honeymoon before disclosing Spoil's whereabouts. Andy humorously agrees to fulfill her wish, leaving Shen and the others bewildered. As Shen reminds Andy of their primary goal to capture, not kill Spoil, an unexpected interruption occurs. Azumo spots a boy emerging from an underground tunnel and impulsively follows him, with Shen quickly pursuing her. Upon confrontation, the boy, pointing a gun at them, explains that they too will be subject to the spoiling curse, albeit with a longer timer. He expresses fear of outsiders, believing them to be zombie exterminators, which would include him and his group since they are on the verge of zombification. Azumo, undeterred by the boy's logic, rushes forward to apprehend him, deliberately exposing herself to the spoiling curse. Shen, caught up in the momentum, also subjects himself to the curse. Returning to Andy, he has just fulfilled the zombie girl's wish by marrying her. Grateful, she makes a final plea for Andy to eliminate Spoil, the cause of their torment. Despite his original mission to capture Spoil, Andy can't refuse his bride's wedding day request. He engages Spoil, revealing its true form. As the building collapses around him, the remaining zombies shield Andy, indicating they retain some conscious thought. Andy confronts Spoil, ringing a bell with a forceful strike that sends it hurtling into Spoil's face. This act summons the other zombies, seeking vengeance against their tormentor, and Andy prepares to end Spoil's reign of terror. Meanwhile, underground, Azumo meets Ken, the eldest of a group of children. He shares a harrowing tale. A week prior, a sinister entity appeared in the city, transforming the residents into zombies. Ken's teacher, now Andy's zombie bride, led the children to safety before succumbing to the infection herself. She left, promising to fulfill her dream of marriage. Ken comforts a young girl, Mai, whose countdown timer is near 0. He encourages her to remember her dream of becoming a florist, which unexpectedly causes her timer to increase. Ken implores Azumo to help them, leveraging this new discovery. Above ground, Andy battles Spoil, with Shen observing the chaotic scene. The zombies, though not greatly effective, assist Andy, suggesting his compassionate approach towards them. In a strategic move, Andy passes his zombie wife to Shen, focusing entirely on defeating Spoil. Ken excitedly tells the children their teacher has returned, though Azumo is saddened by the teacher's tragic fate. The children warmly greet their zombified teacher, with Mai expressing her affection. Amidst this, a clumsy zombie inadvertently touches Azumo, triggering her Unlock ability, which inadvertently impacts Spoil during its battle with Andy. In response to the unfolding situation, Andy devises a new plan. He instructs the zombies to touch Azumo, turning them into makeshift weapons due to her Unlock ability. Initially skeptical, Azumo is moved when the children's teacher willingly participates, understanding the teacher's selfless intent. Ken attempts to intervene, but Shen uses his ability to restrain him. As the teacher bravely charges towards Spoil, enveloped in a vision of sunflowers, she triggers a massive explosion at a gunpowder shop, sacrificing herself in the process. Andy, impressed by Azumo's potential, coordinates the zombies to exploit her Unlock ability. Azumo, accepting her role, actively touches as many zombies as she can, spreading the Unlock effect. Meanwhile, Shen keeps the children safe while observing the battle. The plan appears successful as Spoil becomes increasingly overwhelmed by the ensuing chaos. However, the situation escalates when both Shen and Azumo find themselves afflicted by the curse. Azumo pleads with Andy not to blame Shen, acknowledging her own impulsiveness. With time running out, Andy decides that they must eliminate Spoil rather than capture it. Shen is reluctant, fearing the repercussions of failing their mission. The battle intensifies as Spoil, having absorbed the zombies, transforms into an even more grotesque form. Andy reveals that Spoil can instantly decay organic matter, except for living beings, which are affected by a countdown timer. The situation worsens when Spoil unleashes a devastating beam, narrowly missing its target thanks to Shen's intervention. Spoil, realizing that the trio's presence signifies a quest from the book Apocalypse, expresses frustration at this interference with his plans. At their base, Mui informs the team about the devastating effects of Spoil's laser, capable of eroding anything in its path. This attack surpasses the known limits of Spoil's abilities, presenting a lethal threat that must be avoided at all costs. Spoil, perplexed by their resistance, justifies its actions as a return to nature, a process it considers beautiful. During a rapid assault by Spoil, both Andy and Shen are hit by the lasers. Andy amputates his own arm to prevent further spoilage, while Shen hastily removes his glove, lamenting its rarity. They deduce that Spoil's attack specifically targets individual body parts, with a full body hit resulting in immediate defeat. Andy acknowledges that his usual strategy, dragging the fight out, is ineffective under these circumstances. As Andy confronts Spoil, he unexpectedly begins to decay before even making contact, indicating that proximity alone triggers spoilage. Spoil, recognizing Andy's unique ability to defy death, is not overly concerned. It boasts that its enhanced decay rate in its second form will outpace Andy's regenerative powers. Shifting focus to Azumo and Shen, Spoil engages in a monologue typical of a megalomaniac villain, claiming its existence creates a natural cycle of life they should embrace. Shen, seizing an opportunity, makes a strategic retreat, although Spoil dismisses this as futile due to the persistent timer. Spoil elaborates on its philosophy, arguing that the world was stagnant before its arrival. It believes its influence has spurred growth and adaptation in living beings. Despite its seemingly rational justification, Spoil is frustrated by humanity's refusal to accept its rule. Meanwhile, Andy struggles to recover from his injuries. Spoil expresses confusion over human attachment to their fleeting physical forms. In response, Azumo asserts the importance of dreams and aspirations in human life. She defiantly declares that no matter what Spoil does to her body, her spirit and dreams will remain unspoiled. Azumo's dream is to live a normal life, a goal she refuses to abandon despite the imminent threat posed by Spoil. Azumo's revelation of her dream dramatically increases her timer, baffling Spoil. She quickly joins Andy, who is impressed by her action. Shen also reappears, armed with his staff, Niue Kinko. He strikes Spoil on the head and declares his ambition to be the greatest being in existence, which causes his timer to soar even higher. Shen's attack strategy is based on exploiting Spoil's weakness. He deduces that Spoil's spoilage aura is limited to its body, not its extended parts, such as its head. Shen's staff, discovered in China, can extend and retract, making it a perfect weapon for this situation. As he engages Spoil, he realizes that Spoil's spoil field doesn't affect objects, allowing him closer combat. Spoil attempts to counterattack, but Shen's negator ability, which reverses the intentions of his target, thwarts its efforts. Spoil's efforts to retreat are inverted, leading it into more of Shen's attacks. This ability requires Shen to feel a certain fondness for his target, a condition he's met with Spoil. Despite their tactical advantage, Andy is unsure how to capture such a massive creature. Shen reveals that Spoil has a core, but approaching it risks spoilage for any living thing. Spoil, frustrated and bewildered by Shen's control, is unable to land a successful attack due to Shen's negating ability. Spoil's powers are formidable, with its spoil field negating even Andy's regeneration and a disintegration laser for long-range threats. Spoil is incredulous that a human could wield such influence, unaware of Shen's unique ability. Shen, meanwhile, is excited by the challenge Spoil presents, anticipating an encounter with someone he's long awaited. As they strategize, the group realizes that spoilage occurs due to airborne bacteria, a key insight in their battle against Spoil. Facing the challenge posed by Spoil, the team devises a strategy centered around reducing moisture to weaken the bacteria responsible for spoilage. Andy decides to create a large explosion using the gunpowder shop, but Azumo's unpredictable Unluck causes him to fall through a ground crack instead. As Spoil generates a dust storm by demolishing buildings, it becomes evident that it's trying to obscure Shen's line of sight, effectively neutralizing his ability. Azumo proposes an alternative approach. Since space lacks moisture, Spoil could be rendered harmless there. She suggests using the Union spacecraft to transport Spoil to space, but the plan is risky as they wouldn't survive the journey. Shen, however, believes he can lift Spoil and an additional passenger, Andy, into space. Despite the risk of Spoil's spoilage ability affecting Andy during the ascent, Shen is confident in Andy's resilience. Reflecting on Andy's past, it's revealed he keeps a card in his head to contain a century's worth of memories. Andy consents to Shen's plan under certain conditions. They coordinate with Mui for the coordinates of the hidden monster. As Spoil readies a massive attack, Andy receives the coordinates and launches himself and Spoil into space using an extending staff, removing the memory-containing card from his head in the process. In space, Spoil underestimates their plan, boasting its disintegration beam. However, when Spoil damages Andy, his regeneration accelerates, and his hair turns black, indicating a transformation. Andy's new form confounds Spoil, especially when his finger bullets regenerate into multiple clones of Andy, swiftly overwhelming Spoil. The black-haired Andy, reveling in his newfound power, sends Spoil's head back to Earth with his arm. Meanwhile, Mui has made arrangements for the children's safety. Shen instructs them to follow a specific path for pickup by the organization, entrusting their care to Ken. As the children set off, Shen reassures Azumo of their well-being thanks to Mui's preparations, while they continue their work on Earth. As Andy's severed hand plummets from space, it astonishingly regenerates into a complete form, marking his triumph. However, Shen cautions Azumo to maintain her distance. He instructs Mui to extract Spoil's core safely. Amidst this, black-haired Andy, now a distinct personality known as Victor, emerges, causing concern with his altered demeanor and intense fury. Victor, who seems to be a more ruthless and powerful version of Andy, becomes aggressive. He resists Shen's negator ability and even lands a forceful kick on him, surprising Shen with his unprecedented strength. Shen recognizes Victor as the god of victory, but Victor dismisses his knowledge, focusing solely on his newfound freedom and strength. Victor's attacks are so powerful they damage his own limbs, a stark contrast to Andy's self-preservation instinct. He targets Shen with a barrage of finger bullets, leaving Shen gravely injured. When Azumo attempts to use her unlock ability on Victor, it unexpectedly fails, leading Victor to taunt them, declaring his immunity to such powers. Victor, fully aware of his indestructibility, threatens to eliminate Azumo, prompting her to remind Andy of their unfulfilled dreams and promises. Despite her plea, Victor remains unfazed, proclaiming the absolute nature of rules and his disdain for human sentiment. In the midst of Victor's tirade, Shen, acknowledging his current weakness, expresses his belief in human potential and resilience. He admits defeat but remains optimistic about growing stronger from the experience. Shen then fulfills his promises to Andy. He vows to protect Azumo and attempts to defeat Victor, knowing he can only stall for time. Despite his weakened state, Shen calls upon other members of the Union for assistance. The sky parts, revealing the arrival of reinforcements, showcasing the collective strength and unity of the Union in the face of overwhelming adversity. The Union members, somewhat exasperated, refer to Andy as a problematic newcomer. Shen reassures Azumo that they're in capable hands. However, Victor, unfazed and thrilled by the challenge, eagerly faces his 10 adversaries. He launches a barrage of finger bullets, but the Union members skillfully defend with their shields. Victor urges them to attack rather than just defend, but when a bullet ricochets off their shields, he realizes their strategic intent and counters explosively. Lecco, a clever strategist, successfully bisects Victor, who finds himself unable to regenerate as expected. Lecco explains his tactic. Burning the severed parts significantly slows Victor's regeneration. He reveals his extensive research on Andy's body, gaining insights into how to effectively counter the regeneration ability. Victor acknowledges the strategy's potential effectiveness against Andy, but he boasts about his enhanced regeneration capabilities, asserting he can regenerate from any part of his body. Ishin attacks Victor, but he dismisses the effort as mere brute force, lacking strategic depth. Victor condescendingly warns Ishin to avoid interfering if he wishes to stay alive. Addressing the rest of the Union, Victor relishes the upcoming battle, despite lamenting Gina's absence. The Union leader steps in, decisively engaging Victor. She manages to split him in two, seizing the moment to instruct Top to evacuate Azumo and the wounded Shen to safety. Victor, however, counters by creating multiple clones of himself using his division bullets. Top, demonstrating remarkable agility, quickly moves Shen and Azumo away from the dangerous battlefield. Impressed by Top's rapid movement and control over his negation ability, Victor attempts to intercept them with the falling staff. Shen, despite his weakened state, manages to command the staff to shrink, avoiding a catastrophic impact. Top successfully clears the area with Shen and Azumo. Azumo expresses gratitude to Top for the rescue, but he downplays it, emphasizing their team unity. Azumo, determined to reconnect with Andy, insists on returning to the battle, despite Top's concerns for her safety. Shen, understanding Azumo's resolve, reluctantly hands her Andy's memory card and a gun for protection. Top is surprised by Shen's faith in Azumo but realizes that stopping her would be futile. He agrees to assist her, although he remains skeptical of her plan. Introducing herself formally to Top, Azumo teases him about his age, highlighting their playful camaraderie amidst the intense situation. In the midst of the battle, Victor is being overwhelmed repeatedly, showcasing Ishin's incredible resilience. Ishin seizes Victor, allowing Phil to unleash a potent beam attack, which surprisingly leaves Ishin unscathed. Victor deduces that Ishin possesses a hardening power, and the child with the laser ability is likely composed entirely of artifacts. The conflict intensifies as Victor engages Juez, who wields a fiery sword. Top returns with Azumo, both shocked at the multitude of Victor clones. Azumo identifies the real Andy by noticing he's the only one with a katana. She courageously leaps onto him, causing the other clones to dissipate. Juez suggests that Azumo try to momentarily revive Andy's personality to amplify the Unluck effect. Victor, claiming to be the original, produces more clones, which the Union members skillfully combat. Victor proposes a deal to the Union members, offering them new, stronger negators in exchange for Azumo's elimination. Juez fiercely rejects his offer, emphasizing the importance of justice and ambition. She commands her team to protect Azumo while defeating the clones. Victor nearly hits her, but Top intervenes, amazed by Victor's predictive abilities. Azumo, desperate to revive Andy, remembers their brief but eventful history. In a bold move, she shoots Victor in his forehead scar and inserts her thumb into the wound, recognizing it as a key to releasing Andy. Her plea to Andy is answered, and he reappears, sharing a kiss with Azumo, causing the clones to vanish. After their moment, Andy playfully suggests they'll continue later, to which Azumo responds coyly, feigning ignorance and warning the onlookers of an impending wave of unluck. Yu urgently instructs everyone to distance themselves from the imminent danger. However, Victor reemerges, intent on preventing their escape. In a surprising revelation, Shen discloses that he misled Victor about the range of his ability, indicating he can still influence Victor regardless of distance. Shen only needs visual contact with his target to activate his ability. As Azumo's Unluck manifests through a barrage of meteors, Shen expresses a desire to encounter Victor again someday. Victor, amused and acknowledging his defeat by humans for the first time in ages, watches as the meteors descend. The resulting destruction is unprecedented, leaving a massive crater in the town's place. Amidst the chaos, the Union members realize Azumo is missing. She ventures alone into the crater, driven to restore Andy's memory card to him. In the crater, Victor commends Azumo's tenacity. Determinedly, she reinserts the card into Andy's head, hoping for his return. The process seems futile at first, and they are soon engulfed by rushing water. Later, when Azumo regains consciousness, she immediately searches for Andy, who is nearby. He surprises her by discussing the One Piece manga she enjoys. Azumo confronts him about the perilous removal of the card, worried about the potential loss and her ensuing loneliness. Andy expresses his gratitude for her voice, which provided solace in his darkness. Andy, for the first time, addresses Azumo by her name, indicating a deeper connection. He prompts her to prepare for an upcoming meeting. Azumo, moved to tears by his return to normalcy, is curious about a new toy. Andy explains it's a gift from Tatiana and the orphans, who also made her a drawing. He remarks on the resilience of the children at the Union's orphanage and their ability to overcome adversity. Andy reflects on the strong emotions the children held for their teacher, his temporary wife, believing such feelings endure without spoiling. He self-praises his eloquent words, attributing it to his long life. However, his speech is cut short by the effects of Azumo's Unluck, as Top calls them to the meeting. Azumo tries to clarify to Top that she and Andy are not romantically involved, despite appearances to the contrary. In a lighter atmosphere, Juez instructs everyone to take their seats for the meeting. Andy, now ranked 9th due to a previous incident, sits down with the others. Juez then prompts the book Apocalypse to announce the results of the 6 quests assigned to them. In a different location, a person, identified as the Negator Unseen, is bound to a chair in a dire state. The captor, intrigued by Unseen's unique ability, describes it as self-targeting and compulsory activation. Unseen becomes invisible when he closes his eyes, along with anything he perceives as his property. Rip, the captor, has implanted a homing device in Unseen's stomach to prevent escape, threatening to deactivate Unseen's ability if he doesn't cooperate, or else the wound will remain unhealed. At the round table, Azumo is surprised to learn she had been unconscious for several days, while Andy nonchalantly comments on her lack of stamina. The book Apocalypse then proceeds to announce their quest results. The first quest was to capture Uma Byrne, involving Juez, Billy, Tatiana, Ishin, Phil, and Toph. Their success led to the addition of an 11th seat at the round table, allowing for another Negator to join. The second quest, capturing Uma Eat, was also successful, and Apocalypse regurgitates a strange globe marking the location of the Negator Unburn, visible for the next 7 days without Unburn's knowledge. Additionally, they completed the quest to neutralize Uma language. The astonishing reward for this achievement is the unification of all the world's languages, reflecting a significant impact on global communication and understanding. The successful unification of languages globally results in a drastic change, all languages merge into English, and the memories and cultures of non-negators are altered to adapt smoothly to this new reality. Shen, speaking in his original language without realizing the change, finds Mui unable to understand him, confirming the language unification. The capture of Uma Pass yielded the location of the artifact rebellion as a reward. The successful capture of Uma's spoil is evident with its imprisonment. A marker is placed on the planet, indicating the location of Uma Unrepair, exciting Izumo, who believes it might help Andy achieve the death he seeks. However, Andy's lack of enthusiasm surprises her. A setback occurs with the failure of the quest to capture the negator Unseen. Those sent to gather information on Unseen ended up dead, suggesting Unseen's capture by another powerful entity, possibly Unrepair. As a penalty for not completing all quests, the book Apocalypse introduces Uma Galaxy, a massive creature released into the atmosphere. As the Union members observe, some appear bored by the enormity of the challenge, while others are more apprehensive. Apocalypse, behaving malevolently, proclaims that Uma Galaxy is a new rule that the world will perceive as having always existed. The Union surfaces in Australia, thanks to Uma moves transportation. Izumo initially underestimates the gravity of the situation, but Ju quickly corrects her, emphasizing the destructive potential of rules introduced by Apocalypse. The transformation begins as the entity from Apocalypse's mouth expands into space, forming a core and a galaxy, filling the sky with stars. While Top admires the spectacle, Ju requests Nico to make some corrections, indicating their readiness to confront the new challenge head-on. The new galactic changes introduced by Apocalypse are common knowledge to everyone except the negators, whose memories remain unchanged. Nico, understanding this discrepancy, taps into the knowledge of his team of non-negator researchers to comprehend the full scope of the new reality. He learns that the galaxy created by the penalty is a collection of Earth-like celestial bodies, complete with their own myths, days of the week, and even extraterrestrial life forms known as aliens. These aliens, believing they have always existed, are now launching an invasion, seeking a new home as their own planet faces ruin. Trained as soldiers and equipped with ships, they view Earth as their next target. A massive alien spacecraft appears, and a giant alien, identifying their race as Axe, announces their intention to invade Earth and enslave humanity. Jiwis confronts the alien leader, boldly rejecting his proposal and demanding their departure. In response, the alien demonstrates his race's power with a massive attack, boasting of their extensive research on humanity's lack of space advancement and declaring an inevitable victory. Jiwis, undeterred, reveals her negating ability called Injustice. As the alien leader struggles to grasp the concept, he is stunned to see his ships start exploding. Jiwis's ability, a direct counter to the alien's perceived justice, shifts the balance of power, showcasing the unique strengths and unpredictability of negators in this altered world. As the alien leader watches in disbelief, his own ships begin attacking each other, a result of Jiwis's injustice ability. Overwhelmed and defeated, he kneels, unable to comprehend the turn of events. Jiwis takes this moment to caution Andy and Izumo, emphasizing the gravity of a penalty from Apocalypse. She points out that while her ability averted a crisis this time, the outcome could have been disastrous under different circumstances. She reveals that this was the 99th penalty imposed by Apocalypse, and they cannot afford any more. Jiwis explains the discovery of a stone tablet with 101 slots, corresponding to penalties. With only one slot remaining before the 100th penalty, known as Ragnarok, a term signifying the end, they must prevent its fulfillment to protect Earth. The immediate issue, however, is the need to fill the 11th seat at the round table. Without a full roster, they face a penalty in 3 months, hindering their ability to undertake further quests. Filling this vacancy becomes their top priority. The alien, still reeling from his defeat, is instructed by Jiwis to convey a warning to the rest of the universe. Earth is off limits. This encounter marks humanity's first and last interaction with aliens, as all future contact ceases. Jiwis reminds her team of the locations of Uma Burn and Unrepair, rewards from their successful quests. Andy volunteers to pursue Unrepair, believing its ability might prove lethal to him. Jiwis approves, assigning Tatiana and Izumo to accompany him. Andy is eager to repay the team for their support during his entrapment in Victor. And that's the end of our video. To see more, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.